Well, hello there, and top of the morning to you. Do you know what today is? Today's St. Paddy's Day. Are you ready to celebrate? It's St. Paddy's Day. Let the shenanigans begin. So we're teaching 9.1 today with right triangles. Do you like right triangles? They're very friendly, aren't they? Just like the Irish. So we're on 9.1. Hope you like this assignment. Practice it well so you'll be good at it for the test in the future. But welcome. This might be the third or fourth quarter. I'm not sure where we are. But new quarter, new me. You know, you got this. Do you still remember how to solve logarithms? Do you remember how to condense logarithms? We're going to pause it for a moment. I hope you like cabbage. You should have cabbage today. The Irish love cabbage and potatoes. So we're going to be solving logarithms. Do you know how to condense them? You got to condense them to one log. You got to condense them. And so you condense them down to one log. You get log base 3. Do you remember what addition becomes? That's right. You rotate, it becomes multiplication. I'm glad you remembered. Make sure you pause me first and try it on your own. So we have x. Remember that addition becomes multiplication. Now we've condensed it now. We've condensed it now. And that's fantastic because now you can get close, one step closer to solving it. So do you remember, how do we undo base log 3 to the other side? Do you remember? To undo log base 3, you got to put a 3 underneath it and raise you up. We're going to raise that up, but if you do it to one side, you have to do it to the, say it in Irish accent, come on. You got to do it to the other side. So if you raise it up to the other side, what's 3 to the third power? What's 3 times 3? 9 times 3, 27. So that side becomes 27. This side cancels. Then you distribute it through. Then you get x squared plus 6x. Then you minus 27 to the other side. Because you got an x squared term. So you got to get everything to the other side and factor it. What are factors of 27? Do you remember? That's right. 9 times 3 is 27. Side middle term goes with, say it in Irish accent, the bigger number. So we have a plus 9 and a minus 3. So now you got to take those and set them equal to 0. And what happens when you set them both equal to 0? Well, you minus 9 to the other side. And when you do that, you get x equals 9. No, you get x equals negative 9. And when you add 3 to the other side, what do you get? You get positive 3. I'm feeling like we can't do log quite of a negative number. Let's see. Can you remember that part? Well, we have negative 9. And we bring it up here. Can we do log of a negative number is the question. So you go math log base of 3. And you try to plug that negative 9 in there. But you get a non-real answer, so it doesn't work. So that one doesn't work. But if you plug a 3 in, it does. Because 3 to the first power is 3. And 3 to the 9th power. 3 to the 9th power. How do we get 3 to the, no. How does 3 become a 9? Square it. 3 squared is 9. And 1 plus 2 is 3, so it works. Plug it back in and it works. So x equals 3 is our answer. Do you remember how? I was supposed to do number 1. Aren't you lucky there that I started with number 2? Number 1, we had 14. Do you remember? To the other side first. 9 plus 14 should be 23. Then we have e to the x minus 1. That's just the bell for lunch to start. I hope you're hungry for some bubbles and squeak. Bit of cabbage in there, you know. Love my red and green cabbage. How do we undo ln to the other side? Do you remember? Or do you have to fly back to Ireland to remember? Do you remember what ln is? Natural log. So you're going to ln both sides. And that's going to get rid of your e. And now you have x minus 1 is equal to ln of 23. Then last but not least, you just add that 1 to the other side. Make sure you don't combine it though. They're two different answers. ln 23 and 24 are two different answers. So ln of 23 plus 1 is a different answer. It says 3 decimal approximation if applicable. So can you plug that into your calculator? We got ln of 23 plus 1. That gives us 4.135 if you round to 3 decimal places. Was it 315 or 135? So 4 and a bit. Do you remember how to simplify these following with no decimals? Do you remember what negative 8 to the 2/3 is? I'll let you try on your own for a moment. Can you remember? You got to remember. Because you got to take the ACTs again and get a higher score. Make sure you wear green so nobody pinches you. Well, 3 is the root. And 2 is the power. So we're going to go ahead and take negative 8. And we're going to go ahead and power 2 it. And then we're going to go ahead and cube root it. And negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 64. And then if you cube root it, what's the cube root of 64, do you know? It should be 4. That's excellent. What about the square root of 200? Try that one on your own, please. Make sure your brim's down when you're teaching math. What? Can't see. So the square root of 200, well, that breaks down into 2 times 100. And if you square root them both, well, you can do the square root of 100. That's just 10. And then you still have your radical 2. And there's your answer. No decimals. Try number 6 and number 4. An angle that measures from the horizontal upwards to an object is called the angle of, do you know? Is it elevation? Is it depression? So it should be the angle of elevation. Whereas an angle that measures from the horizontal downward to an object, like I'm looking down at you right now, that's called the angle of depression. But don't get sad while you're doing it. Bwahaha. Use a calculator to evaluate each function. Round your answer to nearest 4 decimal places. That's too easy for you. But give it a try. Go ahead. So sine 41, you type it in. Make sure your mode is not in radians, else you get the wrong answer. Because negative 0.158 is wrong. That's not the right answer. No, that's wrong. So make sure your mode is in degrees. So make sure your answer is in degrees. 0.6561 is the correct answer. So make sure you're in the right degrees. Make sure you're in the right mode. So do you remember what secant is? Secant's 1 over cosine. Give it a try. So we'll go 1 divided by cosine of 87 degrees. That's 19.1073. We're going to 4. We're going to 4 decimal places. So 19.1073. 19.1073 is 4 decimal places. You try cosine next. This is the bell for lunch. Have yourself a good lunch. And then come back and keep watching. Check your answers with me. I'm just going to keep going. So what's cotangent? So cotangent is 1 over tangent. Don't forget to put yourself, make sure your mode. Make sure your mode is in degrees. We're doing this part. So 1 over tangent, negative 27. So we're going to go 1 divided by tangent of negative 27. We're going to get a negative number, negative 1.9626. 9626. 1.9. Remember, it's to the nearest 4 decimal places. 4 decimal places. So you try the other two, or the other one. You try number 10. So that's just plugging it right into your calculator. But now we got to figure out, how do we find angles on our calculator? Make sure you're in degree mode. And you're going to use the inverse of the angle. That'll help you find the missing angle. Use the inverse. So how do we undo tangent to the other side and solve for theta? Do you know how to undo tangent? So we're going to leave a blank space to show you how to do it. You just leave a blank space. You're going to practice 12 and 14, so I'm going to help you on 13. So we've got sine of theta equal to blank space, 0.9903. So how do you undo tangent? You do inverse tangent. Let you practice that one on your own. So how do you undo tangent? You inverse tangent. Don't be an idiot, which means I'm idiot. Yeah, don't be an idiot. Don't be an idiot. Make sure you inverse tangent both sides. That's going to get rid of tangent. And then you're going to plug that into your calculator now. It's called second tangent, second button, and then tangent. Now we're going to do inverse sine. And inverse sine undoes sine. But if you do it to one side, you have to do it to the other side. Let me show it to you. So you're going to go second sine of 0.9903. And when you plug that in, that's going to give you 82 degrees. It says round to the nearest degree. So that's going to give you 82 degrees as an answer. Because I rounded to the nearest degree. You round to the nearest degree. You get 82 degrees. Now we're looking at other trigonometric functions. Doing this in Irish is a bit harder than I thought it would be, but I'm still trying my best, if you can tell. So first we got to figure out what secant is and draw our triangle. So secant is the same as 1 over cosine. Means we're going to have adjacent hypotenuse in it. Any whole number can be written over the number 1. Any whole number. And so secant is the same as 1 over cosine. And cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So secant will be hypotenuse over adjacent. Can you draw a right triangle now and fill in the blanks? You draw that right triangle now, like so. And we'll say theta is down here. And we'll say this is opposite. And this is adjacent, and this is hypotenuse. Well, we have the hypotenuse. What is our hypotenuse? So our hypotenuse is 4. So we'll say this is 4. And then we'll see the adjacent side. Doesn't look to scale, does it? We'll say the adjacent side is 1. Not to scale. Not to scale. So now we're just trying to find the opposite side, and then we can get all the other trigonometric functions with their missing sides. So we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem now. A little bit of Pythag. So we're going to do a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And so we're just going to go ahead and say that a is 1 plus b squared. We're still trying to figure that out. equals c squared, which is 4 squared, which we get 16. So 1 squared is just 1. 4 squared is 16. We're going to minus the 1 over to the other side. So we get b squared is equal to 15. We're going to go ahead and square root both sides now. We get b is equal to the square root of 15. Now we're going to do all the other functions. So we already know what secant is. Secant is 4 over 1. So now we need to know what cosine is. And so cosine is just the opposite of that. Cosine is 1 over 4. So there's one of our answers. There's another one of our answers. Now we're going to do sine. So sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse. Dude, you remember that opposite of hypotenuse is sine, the relationship. It's a very romantic Irish relationship. You should watch Leap Year. That's also a very romantic movie in Ireland. So the opposite is going to be radical 15. So we're going to say radical 15 over the hypotenuse, which is 4. And then we're going to flip it. We're going to flip it for cosecant. So cosecant is going to be 4 over radical 15. But you can't have radical in the bottom. That's an inappropriate Irish thing. So you got to times it by radical 15 to the top and bottom, or just bring it up. Here's your shortcut. We're going to bring it up here. So it's going to be 4 times radical 15, all divided by radical 15, but get rid of the radical now. And so that's just going to be our answer. And that's just a shortcut. Now we're going to try it with tangent. So tangent of theta is opposite over adjacent. And opposite is radical 15 over adjacent, which is just 1. And now you're almost done. Now you just have cotangent. And cotangent is 1 over radical 15. But remember, it's Irish inappropriate to have radical in the bottom. So we're going to times it by radical 15 to the top and bottom. And when you do that, you get radical 15 on the top. And when you do that, you get radical 15 on the top. Over 15 times 15 is radical 225, which is radical 15 over 15. There you go. Put radical 15 to the top and make it not radical in the bottom. And there we go. We found all of our 6 trigonometric functions. I'm right proud of you. You've done a right well job done today. Thanks for watching. I was supposed to do the odd one, so now you've got to try the odd one. Ha ha ha. So sine is opposite over adjacent. Don't you forget? No, it's opposite over hypotenuse. So you have to draw a right triangle. And after you draw a right triangle, then you got to label the parts of that right triangle. Maybe we'll put theta there this time. So this is opposite, and this is adjacent, and this is hypotenuse. That's the first step, is to label. Label your triangle. Label correctly your triangle. That's the first step, you could say. First step. So now we know that this is opposite over hypotenuse. And so now we can label it. So opposite is going to be equal to 5. And hypotenuse is equal to 6. Can you find the adjacent side? So that's going to be the adjacent side squared plus the opposite side is equal to the hypotenuse. And that's going to be 36 and 25. We're going to have to solve for the adjacent side by minusing 25 to the other side. 6 minus 5 is 1, so we get 1 and 1. So now you're going to have to square root that to undo the square. So now we know what the adjacent side is. The adjacent side is radical 11. And now you're going to use it to find all other 5 trig functions. So go ahead and find that using these 3 parts to it. We already got sine. Is 5 over 6. That means cosecant is the opposite of that, 6 over 5. Pause me, you try the rest on your own now. So what's cosecant? We just found it, 6 over 5. So what's cosine then? Something over something. Don't forget, you can't have a radical in the bottom. And don't forget tangent. And don't forget secant. And don't forget cotangent. You got to find all 5, all 6 total trigonometric functions with their opposite sides and hypotenuses and lots of things like that. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed St. Paddy's Day today. Make sure that you wear something green, eat something green, and remember the Irish. They're always around us. Don't forget your pot of gold as well. Thanks again for watching. See you again next time.